In Manipur, tensions are rising amid fresh violence. Since the 1st of September, 11 people have already been reported dead. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. In Manipur today, massive protests were led by students. Students are marching on the streets of Imphal. And if there's one thing that is evident with the new surge in violence over the last few days, it is this, that for more than a year now, since the ethnic clashes first erupted in 2023, Manipur has not been able to return to any kind of stable normalcy. In the fresh violence that we have witnessed over the last few days in the northeastern state that has been rocked by violence, among the dead is also a former soldier, a havildar of the military, found dead just for crossing the so-called buffer zone, the invisible line that now separates Kukis from Meiteis. Amidst this internal strife, the question is being asked about what next. The Manipur police is now talking about weaponized drones being used. There are reports of rocket attacks. What will the government do? What will the state government do? What will the central government do? These are the questions that are mounting, and there are no easy answers in sight as images like these emerge from the streets of Manipur every single day for the last few days. Joining me on the program now is General Himalya Singh, the first general from the Northeast, a war hero from Kargil, who has also served in many other avatars, including at the Siachen Glacier. General Singh, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Let me start by asking you to talk about the current situation. We've had a very troubling September. We have 11 reported deaths in both communities, Kukis and Meiteis. We have reports of drones, according to the Manipur police, rocket attacks, and among those dead are women, but also, most recently, a former soldier, a havildar of the Assam regiment. It seems to be a terrible and horrible situation all around. What is your overall perspective, sir?
Thank you, Barkha, for having me on your show. Your assessment, your information is absolutely right. Since the 1st of September, there has been a significant escalation in the situation here. Right now, we have curfew in 2 districts of the valley, Imphal East and Imphal West, since 11 o'clock. And a short while ago, I also saw that the internet has been shut down with effect from 3 p.m. or so. So we are lucky that my internet is still functioning. The situation is it's very, very concerning, and an air of uncertainty, an air of fear amongst the people exists. And all this restarted around 1st of September when this weaponized drone strikes actually took place in 2 places, first and second, and thereafter a missile attack. And of course, there has been thereafter counter actions here and there. So right now, the students are very, very restless, and they are struggling to go ahead with their protests in the Imphal city.
Yes. Sir, talk a little bit more about these drone attacks and rocket attacks. There's been a lot of debate around them. Some groups say that these are only used for surveillance, and both fighting communities, Kukis and Meiteis, have used them. The Manipur police says that they have been weaponized. The drones have been weaponized. What is your own assessment?
I came to know about certain issues related to whether these drones on first and second were weaponized. But I think I'll go along with the Manipur police report, because what has happened is that the bombs that were dropped have got fins, and also there is a hook. So these could not have been fired from a mortar or from some kind of a missile, because if there is a hook, it has to be dropped from the air. So therefore, I tend to believe what the Manipur police is saying because of what I have just said. It is not on hearsay. The hook, the presence of the hook has been noted by the, and it is in the custody of Manipur police. So maybe that most probably these drones were weaponized and dropped from the air. And as far as the missiles are concerned, what is concerning is that 5 kilometers range, you don't achieve 5 kilometers range, fired from uh, some tube or some. It has to be it has to have a base which is strong enough with metallurgy to actually fire that kind of a range. 5 kilometers range is not a small range. So
Yes.
it signifies that there has been use of advanced technology, use of certain weapons which were not seen earlier. So these are of very, very significant threat to the entire society. Drones have been used, as you're saying, on both sides, but this use of the drones and the missiles, which has a range of about 5 kilometers, is extremely escalation in its escalatory in nature.
Yeah. General Singh, as a veteran, a military veteran, when you see the fact that even those who have served in the military are now caught up in in these clashes. So, for example, we know now that a Havildar of the Assam regiment, former Havildar rather, he accidentally, by reports, strayed into what is called a cross the buffer zone, which is, right now there's a demographic divide between the Kukis and the Meiteis, unfortunately. And he was killed. And in very simple terms, today, if you're in Imphal, you can't go into Churachandpur. If you're in Churachandpur, you can't come into Imphal, just to explain it simply to our audience. Now, when you hear this news that a soldier has been killed as a general sub, what does it make you feel?
See, any lives lost is extremely sad in this situation, and of course, where an ex-serviceman or a soldier, ex-soldier gets killed in a manner. So these are, in fact, sadder for me because I've spent 40 years in the army. So the issue here is that when these ethnically very, very charged, kind of emotionally charged and divide which is taking place, I suggest that the ex-servicemen and servicemen should not get uh, into one way or the other. We must remain firm in our commitment to the nation and into nation building. This is what I believe in. We have taken oath to protect, to defend our country. So therefore, any casualty to serving or retired is very sad, and for that matter, any civilian, anyone, any life lost is a huge concern for us.
General Singh, you say that the uniform means allegiance to the nation, and that is, of course, correct. But one of the most dangerous things that has happened in Manipur last year is that the army and the police have got caught up in this conflict in a way that one community will place its faith in one institution and the other community will place its faith in the other institution. So we see members, for example, the Mira Paibis routinely, in confrontation with the Assam Rifles. We see the Kuki community women routinely confronting the Manipur police. Now, this I find very tragic and very dangerous.
Yes. See, Barkha, the situation here is the battle of narratives. And that narrative through social media, right, wrong, false narratives, and whatever is happening in the social media, whatever you are seeing, one doesn't know what is black and what is white. And there are, in fact, such kind of a narrative I never saw, even in Jammu Kashmir, or even during, of course, during Kargil War, there was no such, technology there. I've never seen. And here is a very, very advanced, narrative of what we commonly known as, gray zone, kind of a gray zone warfare, where everything is being used, right from diplomacy to, cyber to information war and perception war and all that. So in the middle of all this is very difficult actually to distinguish what is the truth and what is correct. So I go along with what the government of India uh, uh, or the Manipur police or some official document. We have to have faith in some, institution. We
Yeah.
can't be believing. There is a lot of rumor mongering going on. There's a lot of suspicion and there's a mutual distrust going on. So in this environment, one has to keep their wits about in order to distinguish between the black and the white.
But General Singh, today all of Manipur's institutions are under attack by one or the other community, right? So whether it's the
Yeah.
governor's house, the chief minister, the army, the police, it's like a broken society, or it's divided so bitterly. Now, my question to you, and this is a question that has been raging since last year: does Manipur need president's rule? Is that a short-term measure that you think the time has come for that, or will that change nothing?
Uh, Barkha, I'm not very. This is a political call. Whether it needs, whether a president's rule will make any difference, I'm not very sure. Whether Article 355 will will it make any difference? So this is something futuristic. But one fact remains that more of the same that has been happening in the last 16 months hasn't worked. So we have to explore other avenues, what could work. This is for all the, for the all the, central and the state agencies, and also for the think tanks to actually take a call, make a recommendations to the government what can work, because it is a fact that 16 months that there is any, the way it has been handled in the last 16 months doesn't appear to have had the desired effect. So I tend to believe that there has to be some change in approach.
Yes. The most dangerous thing, of course, is that civilians in both communities are armed. I have seen this on the ground myself, whether it is farmers or school going children, they have weapons. And this is frightening. And, as you said, more of the same isn't working. And disarming attempts or attempts to persuade civilians to give up weapons has not worked, sir. Now, as someone who has been part of the consultative committee on peace talks with, the Naga peace talks, if you were to suggest a different approach, what is the immediate priority, or what should be the immediate priority in Manipur today?
Okay. The long-term issues can be set aside for the time being. The short term, what you are asking is the short term. Immediate, obviously, is to bring law and order to some semblance of order in this. For that, there are two approaches. One is the political, another is kind of law enforcement or kinetic action, as I would like to call it sometimes. So the political and kinetic, if there is any, has to go, parallel. It can't be. It has to have a political aim for the actions to be taken by security forces, including Manipur police. So here, I'm not very sure about the political strategy, what they are planning, but the fact remains that people on both sides are yearning for peace. And corollary to that is that you mentioned about the weapons. These have to be, disarmed. It's a very difficult issue. I mean, in my view, there are over 10 to 15,000 weapons floating around in the society today on both sides, because everything, the border is porous, then, the insurgent elements, the armed groups, and even those weapons which have been taken away from the government constabulary from on both sides. So therefore, there's a huge number. What I'll call upon is that the intent to disarm, some kind of a messaging has to be done that this much and no more as far as the violence is concerned. That is what I think people are looking at to begin with. And along with that, some political initiatives to actually make people talk, because I do believe if the both sides are not talking to each other, I do believe that the Indian state has got adequate leverage to make sure that people of Indian origin they talk. There is so therefore I think we have to go this hand in hand, the political approach, and if need be, they have to be convinced. If they are not convinced, then they have to look for other means to convince them. So,
Yes.
and of course,
yeah. What about the national security implications? There's a border with Myanmar. There is China looking at this area with keen interest. How long can this go on without having an external dimension, an external repercussion?
I'm glad you brought this out. I have said and also written in a few places that many people are calling it ethnic violence or communal violence. I tend to term it as the way things have evolved as a very, very big challenge to national security. So unless we diagnose or unless the decision makers actually look at these two angles separately, communal violence, you deal with things separately. And national security concerns will have other dimensions as well. Therefore, I am very concerned as a military man as far as the national security threat is extremely concerned. Where there is hardly anything called border. It is totally porous. There is nobody there. And whatever border management is far from satisfactory level. And you have over 30 odd small insurgent groups. Some are big, some are this. They are crossing the border as if the border doesn't exist. So therefore, I think, and you are fully aware of what is happening in Myanmar with the Chinese firmly in presence in these at least in upper Myanmar, in the northern half of Myanmar. And many of these insurgent groups or those militant groups do have working relationship with the militant groups on the other side. So it's a very dangerous cocktail of what is happening here. And the inimical elements like China, you mentioned, they will definitely try to exploit this weakness in our region. Therefore, I will call it a very national security concern, in fact, threat. I mean, initially it might have started with some kind of a communal violence, but then it has already transformed itself into a big national security concern.
Let me ask you a final question. You said that both sides, people on both sides are yearning for peace. Why are we not able to get leadership of both sides to the dialogue table? How does that happen? You've been involved in peace talks before. Obviously, the state has to do this, but can there be other initiatives, civil society initiatives, people like yourselves? How do we get people to the dialogue table?
See, as far as the communities here are concerned, they have made their stand clear. One wants some kind of a separation kind of a, agenda, which is the other one says that there's no way it can be separated. Like this, there's no meeting point between the two. And the CSOs and others or individuals who have, it's not that people have not tried. Many people have tried, I think so, even at the political level. But the thing is that agenda is being driven by through the barrel of the gun on many cases. So therefore, corollary is that someone who can enforce this, someone who can actually enforce some kind of a meeting is, to my mind, the Indian state. Along with the state, I'm not passing everything to Indian state. It is the responsibility of the state government, along with help from the Indian state. So this is something that has to be looked into very, very seriously. It can go into if things are not addressed properly, it can slide into more chaos.
Absolutely. General Singh, thank you. It's a very grim situation. As you said, the internet shutdown is coming. We're lucky that we've been able to talk to you. Hopefully, we will be able to report on the ground. And that is the only way around the internet shutdowns, but also to understand what is actually happening. Always a pleasure, sir. Learn so much from you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.